Okay, so welcome to the final video where we're going to presume that you've got some ads live, you've got traffic coming through, you now want to know what to do to be able to optimize those ads, to be able to get the most from them. Okay, so now the first thing we need to do is to get some sort of conversion tracking installed. Now, conversion tracking is where you actually can track whether the phone call, email, or form submission actually came from your Google Ads campaign, and if so, which keyword precisely triggered it. Now, this is not essential. It's okay for now. It's okay for months to just ask people where they heard of you. So by all means, this is not essential, but it is useful information. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to set up some basic conversion tracking. Now, in order to get the phone calls tracked, that is much more fiddly, and I would suggest hiring somebody from People Per Hour to do that. And in fact, you may want to hire somebody to actually help you do this web form bit that we're about to do as well. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to do it and where to get the codes from. So you would, at the top of your Google Ads menu, you would go to Tools and Settings and then Conversions. And what this is going to do is we're going to create a code that only triggers if people actually call us or fill in a form, and this allows us to prove which keyword they used. Okay, so it's really, really useful information. Okay, so once we're in conversion actions, we should see something similar to this. The first time that you see yours, you may see something slightly different, but it'll be something like Setup Conversion Tracking or something similar. You're looking for a blue plus button. And the easiest one to track is the action on your website. So if we click on action on your website and we want to track, let's say we're going to track the web form, a callback request form or something similar. Now the lead category would be submit a lead form or contact, it really doesn't matter too much. The conversion name, submit lead form, it's very kindly filled that in for us. Maybe we could just leave it as it is. Now, do we know how much every phone call is worth? We probably don't at this stage. So I'm going to tick the box that we don't use a value. And do we want to count it if they call multiple times or if they fill in the form lots of times? Probably not. I'm only interested in the first one because I don't want to accidentally double count. So we're going to put 1. I'm going to leave the rest as is, and then we're going to click on Create and Continue. Right, okay. I've obviously already used this in a previous test version, sorry for that. So Create and Continue. And if we click on Install the tag yourself, then it'll give you some instructions to follow. Okay, so the global tag isn't installed on your HTML pages. You would copy and paste that between the head tags of your website. Okay, so that needs to go into your tracking code. If you're not familiar with how to do this, then please hire somebody to do this section for you. It's just so much easier. Because it is a little bit fiddly, and if you get it in the wrong place, then what can happen is you count the conversions falsely, meaning that everybody that even lands on your website triggers a conversion, and that is worse than having no data at all. Okay, so we would download these snippets. This event snippet only goes, so this one only goes onto the thank you page people see when they have submitted the form. So let's say they're filling in a callback form, they go to a page that says thank you for your request, we'll be in touch soon. This snippet goes in the HTML code for that page. This one goes on every single page, as in it goes like in your general header or something like that. Now, another option is we could just email the tag. So if you're hiring somebody to do this for you, then I would just be emailing the tag. Okay, and you would just quite simply put in their email address here and then click on Send and Continue, and they will then be able to do it for you. Should just be a simple hour, a simple hourly on People Per Hour. Probably people on there that will do it for 20-30 pounds, something like that. So really don't worry about too much faffing about trying to do this yourself. Okay, so and then you can also then set up other conversions for click to call conversions, The phone call click, this one is already automatically set up when we created the call conversion code, and when we set up the call extension in our previous video, that created a conversion. So if somebody calls directly from your advert and calls you directly, that will automatically be tracked. So you probably should have a conversion already in there. But then the rest of these, if you just get somebody's help to help you set these up, that's by far the easiest way of doing so. Okay, so presuming that you've got that set up now, and moving onwards now, what do we do on a day-by-day basis if we've got conversion tracking enabled, or even if we haven't? Okay, so let's imagine that your ads have gone live. So now you want to look at yesterday's data. You go to the date selector at the top right hand corner, and I want you to look at the clicks that you had yesterday. Now, for confidentiality reasons, I am not able to show you any therapist or similar accounts. I'm showing you another local business account that I myself own, because this is my husband's business, so I've set this one up. Obviously, for client reasons, wouldn't want to be showing you inside their accounts, so I'm going to show you another local business instead. Okay, so just imagining that here we've got a Weston-super-Mare campaign, for example. If I click on each of the campaigns in turn, then it will show us, so here's the name of the ad group, and it means I will actually then be able to see which keyword it was that triggered the conversion. So you can see I've got one conversion, 2 clicks just here. Now yours will look similar to this. We then go and let's just go and look at the lock change group as well. You can see we've got all the lock change keywords in here. Now, if you come across an issue such as this, rarely shown, so if you look at one of your ad groups and you see that one of your keywords is saying, we've got a low quality score issue, how do we fix this? You would fix that by creating a more relevant landing page. So this will happen to some of you, and it's where you need to go and create a more relevant landing page. It might also be if you've got a few different keywords all put in together, it might be that you need to separate them out into different ad groups as well. So that's what's happening there. So something that I do want you to pay attention to is how to add the extra columns in. So we've got 2 clicks in this ad group, 1 in this one and 1 in this one. So that's how many times people actually clicked the advert. Impressions is how many times the advert was actually seen. And then the click-through rate is quite simply this one divided by this one. Okay, so we've got 2 over 14, 14.29%, and it's then telling us how much we paid for every single click. Now, in our example that we set up yesterday, ours was £2 per click. This one is set to around about £12 or £13. So the average cost per click, CPC, is £12.77. And you can see that of the 2 clicks in this ad group, I've got conversion tracking running here. So therefore the conversion rate was 1 in 2 clicks converted, therefore was a conversion rate of 50%. In the therapist market, you'd be expecting conversion rates of anywhere from, say, 1 in 6 up to maybe 1 in 2, depending on how much competition there is in your local area, how good your landing page is. And that means that what I would want you to do is I would want you to look overall at your performance. So what I've just done there, click on the back button, I'm looking at all the campaigns. I would want you to be thinking, right, how many clicks did I have yesterday? In this example, I had 9 clicks. You can see it says that we had 2 conversions. So 2 conversions from 9 clicks. Okay, so it's telling us that the conversion rate was 22.2%. You would be working out what your conversion rate is. So if you had 10 clicks and 1 person called yesterday, you would know that your average conversion rate yesterday was 10%, for example. And you can do that whether or not you've got conversion tracking or not. So that's the data that I want you to keep an eye on. And eventually, once you've left it running for a week or so, you'll be able to work out how many calls or how many clicks it's taking you to get the calls or web form submissions that you want. Now, the average for this market, depending on, of course, your specialism, should be around about 1 in 3 to 1 in 5 clicks. So sometimes it can be a bit higher, as in like it could cost you a little bit more, depending on, of course, your competition and your landing page, all of these other things. So it's difficult to give an average. But what you want to do is get it so that you're actually paying for, say, around about 30 to 50 pounds to actually get a client through your door. And the ideal situation is that you're always the first session that they come to see you, that's covering the cost of that first session. So if you're 30 to 50 pounds, let's say you're charging 50 pound for the first session, that would be you then breaking even, getting the new customer through the door, and from then on your profit will be made on upselling them to 5 sessions, 10 sessions, 15 sessions, etc. It's at that point that then maybe you're going to sell them a block booking or a series of sessions, for example. That's where the profit is then made. So your aim is to get it to less than the cost of the first session. Okay, right, so let's now look at what else we need to do to optimize on an ongoing basis, because obviously we're going to look to see how many clicks we had, what the average cost per click was. We're looking to see how many actual conversions we had, what the conversion rate was, if we can see it. Something else we can also then look at is the click-through rate. As I suggested, we'd be looking at an average click-through rate of around about 10 to 15%. You can see we're achieving that in most of these. You'll always get occasional blips. This one here, Taunton, we've got a bit of an issue with competitors doing a lot of searching in that market. So that one is a bit of an anomaly. That one, click-through rate is lower than I would expect it to be. But so the click-through rate is the number of people that see your ad that click it, of course. And we want that to be around about 10% if we've got it set up correctly. Now we do then want to see what keywords we were actually paying for yesterday if possible. So what I want you to do is, obviously I've just clicked on search keywords here. You can see which keywords were actually triggering each of the clicks, so I can see that data. Each of these, by the way, you can actually click on the top of any of the columns and use that to sort, and it will sort it upwards or downwards, etc. But what I want to pay attention to here is the search terms. Now this is where it will show you the precise keywords that people used. Now Google have introduced a feature where you can always see the precise words they used. That's to protect their confidentiality, which is fair enough. But you can at least see some data. So I can see that, for example, 2 people searched for locksmith near me, 1 person searched for lock replacement near me, etc., etc. Now what I want you to be aware of is I want you to look for bad keywords here that need to be added as negatives. Now if I was to just show you, I'm just going to change the date frame to the last 30 days. The type of thing you would be looking for would be things you don't offer, but also I want you to look for competitors' names or things you don't offer. So this, for example, this is a type of service we don't offer. So I'm going to tick that one and I'm going to get ready to add that as a negative in a minute. That is a competitor name. So anytime you see competitors, and you'll find lots of female names, male names, you'll find lots of these that you'll find you're accidentally getting clicks for. And that's where people have searched for X name and then therapist Birmingham, for example. So it could be Elaine therapist Birmingham, where they're looking for a specific therapist. You will want to add that person's name because you've accidentally had a click for that. Of course, you could go into that negative keywords list I showed you earlier and add every possible female name you can possibly think of and every male name and so on and so on. If you have the dedication to do so, then please go ahead. So I'm looking down here for competitors. We don't want anything to do with training. We don't want anything to do with lockpick. We don't want anything to do with padlocks because that is just not a high enough priced service. That is a competitor name as well. Okay, and that's 2 areas we don't cover. Okay, so if it's areas you don't cover, you would also tick the box. If it's services you don't offer, you would also tick the box. And what you're then going to do is click on add as negative keyword. And we then want to add it to the negative keyword list that we set up that was called shared. So can you remember that? Okay. So now we want to, what we're going to do is, here's all the keywords that we just selected, but I showed you yesterday how to set up negative keywords as a single word. This is much more efficient because ideally we don't want to ever pay for any mention of the word Chavo or speedy or train. In this case, I never want to appear for anything to do with lockpick, so I'm just removing the square brackets around. We're not interested in anything to do with padlocks. We don't want to ever appear for that competitor name. We don't ever want to appear for the word Bristol locksmith. And we don't ever want to appear for the word Pontypool. So wherever possible, you can see I've edited it down to a single negative keyword. And then we're going to then save that. Okay, so what that has now done is added it to tools and settings, negative keyword lists, and it's then added it to that shared list. Can you see I have 1,245 keywords in that negative keyword list? So that's how far you can take this. And that is what you're going to want to do. When you first start out, you want to be doing this. So you go to campaigns, you go to keywords, and you then go to search terms. When you first launch a campaign, you're going to be doing this every day with yesterday's data. So you're going to go to campaigns, keywords, search terms, and then look at yesterday's data every single day until you've got a really decent understanding of what you're actually paying for. And what we want to see happen is that most of the keywords in here are good keywords. And eventually that will start to happen, and then eventually you'll start to get more leads in, and then you're probably okay to run the maintenance once every 7 days or every 30 days, etc. So that is the essential maintenance to do. Now, other maintenance you may want to do is, in fact, let me just show you how to do the proper way of searching for your own ads before I jump in and show you the bidding. So tools and settings, if you want to search for where your own ads are, you must do it this way. Otherwise, if you search for your own ads on your mobile phone or your desktop, you're going to cause impressions and that will drop your own quality score. So we go to tools and settings and ad preview and diagnosis. And what I want you to do is set your location to wherever is in question. So this is a campaign running in Bridgwater. The example yesterday that we showed you, of course, was Birmingham. Then the search term would be, let's say, in my example, it's going to be locksmith Bridgwater. In your example, it's going to be anxiety therapist Birmingham, or just anxiety therapist, or whatever type of therapy it is you're offering. Okay, and then if I then just click on that little search button, it will then show me where my ad is falling, and it will also diagnose any issues. So your ad is telling me that 2 of my extensions aren't being shown. Which ones are those? It's not bothering to show the call out extension, and it's not bothering to show a different extension called the structured snippet extension. And that's because, see that, it's choosing to show the call extension instead because it knows it's more effective. I can see here that my ad is appearing in position 1. I can see that there are 4 ads currently showing. I currently have the top position way above the map listings, but you can clearly see this is a preview of what it looks like on a mobile phone. Only ads 1 and 2 are getting any of the traffic. So, or not necessarily getting the traffic, they're the ones that are getting shown the majority of the time. So ideally you do want to be getting your ads into those top positions wherever possible. So this is what you use every time you want to search for your own ad. So please make sure you use that. So let's say that we discovered our ad was in position 3 and we wanted to increase it for that particular keyword. I would pick the relevant campaign. I would pick the relevant ad group. I would make sure that I was actually on the search keywords. So the search keywords are the keywords we're bidding on. The search terms are the ones that we have been actually paying for. Those are the ones that Google's been matching us against. So we then go to search keywords and we would say, right, okay, so these are all set to £12. This keyword here, I was only in position 3, 4, I want to be at position 1, so I would put it up a little bit. Okay, and then I would then come back, say an hour later, and I would then go and check in the tools and settings, add preview and tool. And I would just keep checking to see where my position then fell. Now, there are other ways of checking where your position falls, but for me, this method of searching what my own ads look like and where they're falling is by far the best way of identifying any issues with your ad or your positions, etc. Now, you can also, if I just go back out to all campaigns as well, we can also then go to columns. So I'm at the columns stage, columns, modify columns. I can then go and look. If I look at the competitive metrics, you can actually see whereabouts you're falling. So the search absolute top IS, that, apologies if this is getting quite complex, by no means is this section compulsory. So the absolute top IS means how often are we appearing at the very top, and the search top IS is how often are we appearing in the top 4. So search top S, top 4, absolute top IS, that's how many impressions we're currently getting in position 1. So if I click on the apply button, it means I will then be able to see if I scroll across. So I have got in the very top, position 1, I'm averaging around about 55%, 50 to 60 odd percent. In the top 4, I'm falling slightly more. Okay, so you can see that in this one, only 68% of the time am I in the top 4. Now within this, I can then go and identify issues. What is causing me to only be in the top 4 68% of the time? So if I then click on the campaign, I can then do the same. Go to columns, modify columns, competitive metrics, add back in search top IS, search absolute top IS. I can then see, so inside the campaign, which is the ad group that's causing the issue. So this one's 100%, this one's 63%. Right, that lock change one is causing an issue. So lock change, which was the one that said it had a low quality score. Now that to me says I need to go and create a specific lock change landing page, and that would then fix that. So you can see it's causing an overall issue, an overall drop in the campaign. The rest of the ad groups appear to be doing okay though. This one could possibly do with a little bit of tweaking. The ones which say 100%, that's fantastic, and so on. And if I was to then look at the patterns I would then examine the patterns for the last 7 days and last 30 days, I would get an overall opinion just to check to see if it was just a one-day blip as well. Okay, now the next thing you might want to do is go to the auction insights. And this, you can do this for every single campaign, or you can also do it for all campaigns. Now, if you are advertising in different towns, it's quite useful to do this. So at the moment, I'm only in the Weston-super-Mare campaign, for example. See that at the top? Despite the fact you can see Bridgwater written on the left, I'm actually in the Weston campaign. So remember these breadcrumbs here. So this will show you who you're competing against. And you can see I've currently got 72% of the available impressions, currently competing with Lockrite. The outranking share is how often your ad ranked higher in the auction than theirs. So 70% of the time I'm above all of these guys. You can see how aggressively these guys are bidding here. So this is obviously our number 1 competitor. If I just go and let's go and look, for example, at the Glastonbury campaign. You can see that it's a different company appearing there at the top. Now, you don't actively need to do anything with any of this data. In my opinion, it's just useful to know this. Okay, right. So, now that is, with this setup, with your campaign setup as I've taught you, with the ad group setup using this SCAG single keyword ad group method, your campaigns will be more effective than 90 to 95% of local businesses out there. And from this point onwards, it really is just a case of optimizing the account. If you're still not getting leads through, I would be looking at your landing page, comparing it. You can always go back and compare it to other cities. And what I like to do is I like to go and compare it to really competitive cities. So I would say I would go and look at a landing page for London, for example, and think if they can get it working in London, I can get it working in any city, because London, of course, would be so competitive. So if your landing pages aren't bringing in the leads, then go and edit your landing pages. Go and pay a designer to do a better job with your landing page. Make sure that once you've had it running up and running a while, you take conversion tracking seriously. But other than that, good luck with it. I really hope you've enjoyed the training, and yeah, best of luck implementing these campaigns and bringing leads in. Bye for now.